You show up early, you stay late, you do what it takes. But lately, it feels like the harder you work, the more invisible you become. Well, if exhaustion is your badge of honor, who exactly are you honoring? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Crossroads and Catalyst, the podcast with Shanita B. I am your host. This is where we discuss the thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at a crossroads can be the catalyst for change. Before we jump into today's episode, what I would like to do is just encourage you to write a review. This helps the algorithm and other people can find me a lot easier. And you can also share and subscribe and follow on whatever platform you're using to listen or even watch this podcast. Share your stories with me also if you have some, and you'll hear about it potentially on a future episode. Okay, so jumping into today's episode, we are talking about overwork and why is overwork now a problem? Well, and I want to be clear, I mean overwork, not burnout, because burnout, I think, is more of the stage that follows overwork. Because now you're potentially depressed. Uh, you're you're unable to really bring yourself to the point to figure out how to get out of the situation that you're in, and it's kind of an important thing. So, you're at a professional crossroads. You're achieving things, yes, but at what cost? And really, the question is, are you achieving anything? To be real about overwork because I have seen a lot of it and I've seen some that is paid off. I've seen some that is not paid off. And I could use my own example, my own life as an example, as a case study for this. And part of the reason why I'm doing the podcast is because I think there's so much experience that is so relevant to the things that I'm discussing here that are helpful, hopefully, to you. For work, I think we spend a lot of our times in our younger years trying not to overwork. But for a lot of people, you're just trying to get by and you're trying to figure it out as you go. And it doesn't really hit you. That light bulb doesn't come on until you get to a certain point and stage in life. And then you're ready. All gears are going. And I distinctly recall working, and I was working so hard. I was getting things accomplished. And by getting things accomplished, what I meant is the work that I was doing, I was producing good work, but it was not paid off in the form of a new salary or a new title. And maybe overwork is a good thing for you. I'm not saying that you should never overwork. What I'm saying is you need to quantify it and you need to qualify it to understand how it's impacting your work and if you're actually benefiting or receiving an ROI on that overwork. And shifting slightly to the type of environments in which we work. Some organizations have cultures that encourage overwork. And I can't say with any certainty that some of these organizational cultures that some of the leaders, I guess, within these organizations are completely unaware, because if depending on how large an organization is, it can be very difficult to get a handle on what is really being pushed out regarding the culture. And you don't always leaders do not always see what is taking place. But I have worked in several organizations and seen it firsthand that the leadership, and maybe not at the very top of the pyramid, but a good number of them they're overworking. So you got to know that if they're overworking, they're putting an expectation out that everybody else should overwork, and you don't have to say it. Come on, let's be honest. Monkey see, monkey do. You do what you see other people do, and if your leader is doing that kind of thing, you're more than likely going to do that kind of thing too. And then oftentimes, what is the excuse that is given when we're overworking? Well, the organization, we can't really afford to hire additional resources right now. Well, we just don't have it, or they come up with some type of reason or excuse to justify why overwork is acceptable and why you should just go on to get along. And whether or not you think that's realistic is completely up to you. But part of the reason why we're discussing it is because it is a problem. So, is what I would like to do is clarify the difference between overwork and burnout because overwork is a behavior, burnout is the consequence of said behavior. Overwork is showing up early, leaving late. You're working even on your personal time. You're constantly working. It's almost to the degree of being on call, and it's wearing you out because your body can only take so much. And when you burn out, burnout is the natural corollary of overwork. At this point, you're really emotionally detaching from your work, from the people around you. You have brain fog, you can't think clearly. It may ultimately lead to some a mental health crisis, even because now you may be depressed as a result of all of the overwork because now it's just as it has overshadowed your life. And that is a terrible place in which to find yourself. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make the distinction. So I'm not specifically talking about burnout in this episode, more focused on overwork and helping you to recognize when you may be in a situation where you are overworking. What are some of the reasons why we overwork ourselves? Well, like I just said, there are justifications that might be given to you at the company where you work that would lend credence to the fact that you're working more than what you potentially or particularly would in any given circumstance. And when you consider the fact that maybe you yourself are the one that is handling the the workload of two, maybe three people, which might not necessarily be uncommon, well, then you realize that, okay, well, if they can get the work out of me, and I'm still getting along, I'm not complaining about it. I'm doing everything together. I mean, doing everything and holding it together. Well, what reason do they have to hire the additional resources? Are you achieving your goals rather than just the organizational goals? And what else are you getting out of it? Are you even getting an acknowledgement? And is that enough? That's another good question. Is it enough to get an acknowledgement? Oh, well, we're so grateful for your work. You do great work. Keep it up. But what exactly are you keeping up? Are you going to continue down the path of working 12 to 16-hour days, Monday through Friday, plus nights and weekends? Is that even realistic? Is that what you want? Is this going to get you on the path? Is this a resume builder? Is this a skill? Is overwork a skill now that we can put on our resumes to show people how committed and dedicated we are to getting the work done? And when you step back and think about it, again, is this really putting you on the path where you want to be? If you're not going to be even remotely acknowledged for the work that you're doing, well, you're definitely going to be in trouble because organizations love a good workhorse, and their concern is not in remuneration or progress. It's okay for you to just continue to come in and day out and work yourself extremely hard and do it all over again every day of the week. And I've seen this because I've had conversations in my own life with coaches talking about being the workhorse. Because what reason does the company have for spending and investing in additional resources if you'll do it? That's what you should consider. And I get it. And in some instances, it may just be that there is nothing else that can be done, but there's always a choice. We always have a choice. And I never want you to think that you have to continue to do something. There's a choice there. Now, if you choose the one that might result in, um, I guess, less buy in or acceptance, then yeah, there are going to be some consequences to that. But you have to be the one to make that decision. It's not optimal to have other people make career decisions for you. And I could tell you one of the problems that arises when you don't speak up and set some boundaries is people have the expectation that you're going to continue to work at that same pace. And you definitely don't want to set that tone, because when people have um, that notion that that is the case, they become entitled to your time. They will require you to do something that does not even belong to you. It is not even within your scope. But because you've been doing it and you've been doing it successfully, well, there's this expectation now that's been placed upon you. And that's something else that you would have to address. And so I want to give you a few quick tips to help you walk through how you should handle the overwork. Okay. And number one is essentially audit your value metrics. You have to have your own metrics, things that you are measuring for yourself to help you to understand if you are achieving your own personal goals. Now, the organization has its goals, but you should be able to fit your goals within that organizational structure. And if you're not getting anything out of it, then you definitely want to take a second look, because it may not be meeting your needs. It may only be a one-sided transaction. So, what I would say to that is, are you measuring success by the hours that you work or by the impact? Or is there something that is fruitful coming from all of this work? That's what you want to ask yourself. Number two, you want to have some conversations about boundaries and setting appropriate boundaries. This is not something that you wait for someone to approach you about. You want to be forthcoming when it comes to setting boundaries, so that people will understand this is what is considered appropriate, this is what is not considered appropriate. Because the sooner you do this, the sooner you will serve as an example to someone else. Because I can almost guarantee you there's somebody on your team, if you're the leader, or if you're just a part of a team with the leader who is demonstrating this type of behavior, somebody is waiting on someone else to say something. We I, we see it all the time, right? Even when you're in classrooms or you're at some type of event, and people are waiting for someone to ask a question or make a comment. Someone is waiting. So it might as well be you. Go for it. Number three, you want to model a healthy rhythm. So you don't want to constantly work, from sun up to sundown with re- really pretty much no breaks. You're working every day of the week. And again, it's not sustainable. And so if you decide that you're going to take time off of work, take time off of work, announce it, set your email notifications so that people recognize, hey, I'm out of the office. And here's a key tip: before you go, do it hours ahead or a day ahead, and let people see those automatic emails so that they can prepare themselves. Oh, such and such is going to be out. All right, let me go ahead and ask my question now or redirect so that I know what to do. So you want to set the tone, help to set the tone for that. And again, if you're not the leader, this might be a little bit of a challenge, because maybe your leader has come to rely upon you and your overwork status. This is part of setting those boundaries and having those conversations and letting it be known, hey, I am here. I'm here to be a team player. I'm here to help make sure that we get things done. But the way that we're working is is no longer practical and sustainable. And you want to start using words that drive home the point that we have to do something different. And I'll tell you a bonus: if you're going to come with something like that, it is always helpful to come with a solution, because you will definitely be looked at as a star if you come with a solution to a problem. Okay. Okay. So then, number four, define success beyond productivity. What I can tell you is, managers and leaders across organizations are constantly looking at spreadsheets to help them determine and estimate the productivity of their employees. That is not how you measure your own success, is by a level of productivity. You define your success by whatever you have in mind, not what someone else has in mind. And I think that's going to be extremely important, because it's not going to be the number of hours that you're clocking and how often someone can get a hold of you outside of the regular working hours. You have to be the one to define what that looks like. I think what you want to do is ask yourself, what is fueling this overwork? Why am I doing this? You have to have a clear idea as to why you're doing a certain thing. And maybe there's a who. Is there someone that you're doing it for? These things I think are really important because they really do help you to understand what is driving you. If you're doing it to try to get the attention of other leadership, you have to ask yourself, well, is this really working? Is this really impressive? And maybe it's time to ask for some of their time to sit and discuss, hey, this is what is happening. Not sure that I agree that this is paying off. I would like to rethink how we're approaching this. It's going to take you being creative and realizing that people will take advantage of you if you allow them to. And while some people don't always recognize that that's what they're doing, others will take advantage of it because they do realize that that's what's happening. So you have that on both sides of the fence. So you definitely want to understand your why and your who behind the overwork. And if you're not, if there aren't any stretch opportunities available, if there's no pathway of progression for all of this overwork, well, then it's definitely time to sit back and do an evaluation to determine if this is something that you should continue to do. And even if that organization is the right fit for you. I know that because of some of the environments where I've worked, I've watched colleagues work day in, day out, and not just I'm not talking about just coming in 30 minutes or an hour early. I'm talking about coming in 2 hours early. I'm talking about staying 2 hours late. And then once they wrapped up and went home, they would log in again and continue to do more work. I know people who have literally gone to bed at 2 in the morning and have awakened at 4 to start to continue a process. And they've done that days in and days out. And I don't even think that their leadership fully understood the level of work that they were doing. And if I'm being honest, I don't know that the leadership would have cared because they just care about the job, the work getting done, which is kind of sad in and of itself. Because I think what happens is when we continue in patterns of behavior like this, and we don't notify the appropriate people who have some say or some decision making authority that could change those circumstances. Well, you're just kind of taking things upon yourself that really are not for you to take. You're taking things upon yourself that do not belong to you, and you rob people of an opportunity to help you. Now, again, that's not to say that it will always work out to where they will, but they at least need to be aware that this is the problem and give them the opportunity to address it. And okay, so this will be one of the other things that I would say. If you're in a situation where overwork is a problem, because maybe something has been modeled for you that shows you that this is how we do things, well, you have a choice. You can continue with the overwork, or you can set the boundaries and allow things to kind of stockpile. And well, stockpile might not be the right word that I want to use. Allow things to pile up, basically, because other people, they're going to start asking questions. Well, why isn't this work done? And when they start to get the responses, well, we don't have enough resources to do it. Well, what happened? What changed? Well, if the only thing that changed is that you or someone on your team decided that you were going to set some boundaries, well, now they have to address that. And addressing it could mean somebody loses their job. Let's be honest, because if it's the kind of environment that you're working that prizes overwork, that definitely will be problematic. But if it's an organization that actually cares about its people, they're going to recognize that they have to address it. And maybe that means that they're going to uh, do some additional assessments to determine how the work can be done, if there are better ways to get the work done. So I just want to make you aware of that. And in another scenario, I knew a lady who apparently, overwork was her badge of honor. And she brags that she works, she works so hard that during one of her pregnancies, that her colleagues and her team had to force her to go to the hospital because she was in labor. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm all for making sure we get work done. But when it comes to your health, if this is the story that you tell people to try to encourage them to get the work done, well, you're definitely setting a bad precedent because you're not endearing people to you. What you're doing is you're alienating them and you're giving them reason to rethink their position on your team and whether or not they want to stick around because they see that rather than addressing the issue, you're not going to provide the support to them that they need, and you will be one of those leaders who takes on additional work without understanding and evaluating the resource capacity that you have. And rather than listening to your team, you're trying to look good in front of leadership who does not even realize that you're breaking the backs of the teams who are doing the work. So that type of um, you don't want to leave that type of impression on people, whether it's your leadership or your team, because it's not going to bode well for you. And it builds resentment. People will begin to resent you because they recognize that you're not listening to them. You're trying to make a name for yourself and trying to look good before people who may not even realize the level of work that you're doing. And again, they may not even care. So consider that closely before you pursue or continue to pursue this overwork angle because it's not helpful to anyone. Now, we are at the end of our episode. And before we close out, I just want to give you a reminder to like, share, and subscribe the episodes so that other people can find me and let me know about your story because I would love to hear about them. And I want you to be thoughtful, I want you to be wise, and I want you to be strategic in everything that you do regarding your profession. And remember, crossroads reveal who you are, catalysts shape who you become. Every decision matters. So make it count. Talk to you next week.